Hey, this is Mitch from Pencil Kings, and my mission is to help artists create income streams. In this video, we're going to explore the idea of if your art should be fun or not, and what you can do if you realize that you haven't been having fun at all. Because I think there's a lot of people in this boat. I'm on day 3 of the 100dayartist.com challenge, and yesterday while speaking about how to have more time for your art, I mentioned the idea of working on art that isn't quite the right fit for you, and we're going to explore that idea here today. If you've ever said something like, I hate my work, or my drawing sucks, or you've just been afraid to show your work to people, this video is for you because by the end, you'll have a new way of looking at what you do so you can get on a path where your art can be a source of joy. Making art, as I've learned, is a little bit like Star Wars in that you have both the light and the dark sides represented. And while we hold pencils instead of lightsabers, the emotions on both sides are similar to the Jedi. How do I know this? Well, I've been both. I started off on the dark side, and thankfully, for many years now, I've seen the benefits of walking on the lighter path. So to refresh, let's take a quick look at the emotions on both sides, and remember that we're thinking of this in terms of how they apply to your art. And remember, if you realize that you are where I was and your feelings are about your art lean towards the dark side, don't worry. You can turn it around and we'll cover that shortly. On the dark side, you've got pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. Let's use 2 quick examples here. Do you ever feel guilty about not working on your art? That's dark side. And when I was working doing special effects for movies, I remember sitting in movie theaters and critiquing every bit of CGI I could see, which you could really track those feelings back to pride and desire. They were motivators that I used back then to continue to improve. However, they also completely ruined movies for me and for a lot of years because all I could focus on was critiquing the art. Do you ever feel like that? That you're constantly comparing or criticizing the art of other people? If you are, then those emotions are a cue that you may want to choose different emotions to make your life as an artist easier. All right, enough about the dark. Let's take a look at how things look on the light side. The emotions you have are willingness, acceptance, reason, joy, peace, love. When I learned about this concept of emotions, this really opened my eyes, and I first started to see it on my podcast, where I've been interviewing artists weekly, both big and small, for the past 4 years. It was in those episodes that I realized the emotions of love, acceptance, and joy specifically were very apparent in many artists. And it was interesting because for years I felt like art was a fight, but all those interviews showed me that there was an entirely different way to do things. To make this a little bit more concrete, here are a few examples. You can love the process of making your art, and you can love the feeling of being able to express yourself and choose what you want to work on. You can have acceptance of yourself and your skills, wherever they may be in the moment, so that you can just show up and have fun being creative. And personally, for me, these days, joy is a specific emotion that I consciously choose to try and bring to everything I do during the day. And just in case this is a new concept to you, I want to give you an abstract example, so I hope you can relate to. Think about physical exercise. Think of running specifically. When you run, especially if you haven't run for a while, it can be a struggle. You're out of breath, your body might hurt, and emotionally, you may feel drained, frustrated, tired, and so on. And that's fine, but those feelings don't really empower you. So instead, what if you chose to feel joy? That you have a body that can run, and you get to be outside in nature, and you're taking time to do something for yourself, which you can feel good about. You totally have the power to reframe how you feel, and you can do this with pretty much anything. And certainly you can do this to feel a lot better about your art. And my belief is that feeling good about your art is probably the most important foundational skill. So why is this a problem? Sadly, it's painfully obvious to me, but I know many artists who have reached out to me or who I've seen comment online who are completely oblivious to their emotions when it comes to art. So instead of feeling good and being in a place where they're totally empowered and free to create from a place of peace, joy, and love, every day is literally a fight with themselves, not feeling good enough, being jealous of other artists, and essentially giving away their power. And when this happens, it's almost impossible to get anywhere with your art. The biggest issue is that all the negativity will end up making you work less on your art, and when you work less, your improvement slows or even stops. And eventually you lose interest in what you're doing, and then you start getting distracted by other things, and before you know it, you've either given up completely on your art, or every day when you try to create, it's a struggle, and eventually you're going to lose that battle with yourself, and then truly you'll be on a dark path, potentially of apathy, where you've completely given up on your dreams. And to be honest, this thought really makes me sad. I want the best for you. I want your art to be the source of so many amazing and wonderful things. So let's get to how you can actually make that happen. Okay, so here's the secret. You need to keep trying to find what is fun. I first heard this mentioned from Tony Robbins, that as humans, we are only ever really doing two things: running towards pleasure or running away from pain. That's it. Just those two things. So when you are making your art, you want to find the type of art that changes it from pain into pleasure. And when you can do that, bam, you solve the puzzle. Now, I'm all for using your art to generate income for yourself, but at the moment, if you've been on the dark side and this is the first time someone's told you that it's okay for your art to be fun, instead of worrying about too many things, I want you to first lean into what's fun so you can get used to and familiar with that feeling of what it's like to actually enjoy working on something. Because once you reacquaint yourself with what fun with your art feels like, you can always go back to that feeling whenever you lose your way as the guiding light to get back on the right path. And why is this so important? Well, to go back to the Tony Robbins example, if we are designed to run towards pleasure and we make art in a pleasurable way, then you'll want to spend more time on your art, and more time equals more momentum. And when that happens, now you're on the path for great things to happen. This is easy to say, but may actually be more challenging in practice because, let's be honest, there is a lot of advice out there about what it takes to be an artist, and honestly, a lot of it is centered in dark side thinking that assumes right off the bat that you're not good enough. And because there can be so much pressure to be a good artist, your mind may totally reject what I'm saying right now. But that's okay. As long as you remember that you can choose fun and joy and acceptance and willingness when it comes to your art, eventually you'll be in a place where you realize that the darker emotions are no longer helping you get what you want from your art. All right, let's take this big picture for a second here. At the moment, I'm working to get over my own internal art challenges because I gave into the dark side for way too long and was afraid, remember, fear is a dark emotion, to share my experience as an artist. So just as much as I'm making this for you, I'm making it for myself. And instead of giving into my fear, I'm totally having a blast with this. And to make sure that I'm able to get to a whole new level with my own abilities of sharing my gifts with the world, I'm doing a 100-day No Fear of Failure challenge, which, if you're interested, you can follow along by hitting subscribe and enabling the notification bell. And if you're really up to making a change, I'd love for you to join me on this challenge. All you have to do is show up every single day for 100 days in a row and work on your creative project for at least one focused hour per day. And remember that while you're working, you get to decide what kind of emotions you're going to feel while you're doing it. Let me know in the comments below if, when you've been working on your art, you've been coming at it from the light side or the dark side. Whichever one you're on, it's totally fine. And lastly, I'd love it if you could approach whatever it is that you're going to do next with the intention of feeling joy while you're in the creative process.